All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to do a real quick rundown of a Caroni rear discharge finish mower. This is a highly debated and talked about discharge mower online because it's at a very good price. A lot of people compare this to the Caroni flail mowers, and I currently own one of those flail mowers right there, and I've had it for several years, so I can give a pretty good direct comparison, and I'm going to do a video later on that. But if you have any immediate questions you're looking to purchase, want to know the pluses and minuses between the two, go ahead and drop me a comment below. I'm not going to go over all the specs of this because if you're like me, you've done read online, you've done read reviews, went to Agri Supply's website or wherever you found this and got all the specs. I will give you a little spoiler alert though. This is the TC910. Some of them list this as a 91-inch cut, some of them list this as a 93-inch cut. Well, I decided to mow path today and measure. It was neither. So you'll see that coming up in a couple clips here. I'll give you just a quick rundown, some things that you may not see on the specs. To adjust your wheels, it has these spacers. It's a real simple design. You just take this clip out the top and you put spacers on the top or the bottom. Put them on the bottom to raise the deck, top to lower the deck. You can see I have it set pretty high. That's because I do have some hilly ground here, and I'm mainly using this to knock down about 10 to 15 acres of field grass. So I'm not looking for a well manicured lawn type of cut. It does come with these nice grease fitting hoses that makes it easy to grease. However, there is a fifth spindle underneath this cover right here with a grease fitting, and to access it you have to remove this cover. Later on I'm going to figure out how to notch out and put me another one of those hoses. To adjust the belt, there is a double pulley underneath here, so you just loosen these 4 bolts. There is another bolt right here that you tighten and move that pulley back and forth to adjust your belt tension. Pretty straightforward, simple. It's got a floating design, some greasable U-joint, or some greasable spindles. You can also get air tires for these. I have the just solid rubber tires. They do just fine. The deck does take a little bit of a beating, but if you take it easy, I haven't seen any cracks, any problems. I've owned this about a year. I've done a lot of cutting. I have about 50 acres here. About half of that's grass, so it's got a pretty good bit of use. I'm not going to ramble on much more. Like I said, later on I'll do a comparison video. I've also owned a rotary cutter, a Frontier 6-footer, so got a lot of experience with cutting attachments. And I'll give the pluses and minuses later, but you can drop a comment if you're looking for some immediate information. So I'm going to end it right here and go ahead and include a lot of action shots of me actually using this today, because let's face it, that's most likely what you're here for. You can read all the specs online, but let's see it in action. I forgot to mention I have this behind a John Deere 4066R with 52 PTO horsepower. I used to own a John Deere 3720 that had 35 PTO horsepower, and I can tell you, you do not need 52 PTO horsepower to run this. You could easily get away with something in the 30s, maybe even high 20s. Just have to mow more often, not mow so thick, and possibly slow down. I literally run this 6.5 miles an hour, which is quite fast, through a very thick field of Pensacola and Tif9 Bahia, which is some of the toughest grass I have ever mowed. It doesn't leave it cut perfect, but it knocks it down, which is what I'm looking for. It really speeds up and saves me some time. this, and I hope you can hear me with the tractor going. But I'm going to show you something that I learned with a rear discharge mower. Hopefully you can see how it's windrowing behind each blade. That's just kind of the nature of a rear discharge. It's trying to scatter it out, but it's got some thick areas. So say if we were around our house, or what I do when I'm in front of my building where I'm constantly walking, I don't want that stringy grass out there. It's stuck to your feet, you're tracking it everywhere. So if you have an area that you want really well manicured and cleaned up, just back into it with a rear discharge. Now that grass has nowhere to go. It stays underneath the deck and it gets mulched up. And it leaves you with a nice, well manicured area. Nothing sticking up. None of that old stringy grass there. It's already cleared in front of the tractor, but I'll pull forward and let you see. Now it's trying to throw one tiny little windrow right there. But you can see it looks a lot cleaner. And all you got to do is back over that again if you need to. And you can have it to where there's almost no clippings left. Obviously I'm not going to mow all day in reverse, but that's just a little something I learned. If I have a specific area I want really cleaned up. Hopefully y'all can hear me. It's a bit windy and I did leave the tractor idling. Something I've been curious about. I see a couple different advertised cutting widths online of this mower. The model number is a TC910, so that would lead me to believe 91-inch cutting width. And I've seen it advertised as that before. Some places advertise it as a 93-inch cutting width. So I decided to mow a path, stop the tractor, and bring a tape measure out here. And you can see I have the edge of the tape measure where the grass cut stops. If I go to the other side where the grass cut stops, I'm a bit disappointed. I'm looking at 87, maybe 88 inches. I'd probably say 88-inch cut. So nowhere near what was advertised online. Now this is an area that I keep mowed a little more often, plus it's a different type of grass. It doesn't grow as thick as that field grass. So I'm just going to give you a general comparison. You still see I have some windrows, but you see the cut quality is much better. And here's an area over here where it kind of left me some windrows and I still have some grass sticking up. So this is not the world's best cut, especially compared to like a commercial zero turn. Lots of little stems sticking up because these blades just do not provide the lift of a zero turn blade as well. But some people might can live with this. So don't compare what I'm cutting out in the field, which is really thick TIF 9 Bahia, which is what we grow for animals around here. It's just a real stemmy, tough stalk type of grass. This is a different mixture up here, and it does cut this a whole lot better. But this still might not be the quality that some of you are looking for as well. Now this is a field that I planted a couple years ago in TIF 9 Bahia, and it's done very well in the short time that it's been growing. This is a much tougher grass. This field is much thicker than what I was just mowing. So you can see, now keep in mind I'm flying over this stuff like about 6.5 miles an hour because I'm just trying to knock it down. I'm not looking for a perfect cut. But you can see I've got the deck high, but this old tough stemmy stuff, it leaves a lot of this still sticking up. There's these windrows that's pretty typical of this rear discharge, but again, these aren't as prevalent in the other field because I didn't let it get as thick as I've let this field get. This is the type of field that typically somebody would be hitting with a rotary cutter just to knock it down, kind of doing the same thing. That's why I don't mind how fast I'm driving and how it looks, which I can still live with this. If this was my yard, no, this wouldn't be good enough. closing thoughts on this mower that I just wanted to point out. If you're watching this expecting to get a zero turn quality cut out of this mower, chances are you need to purchase a zero turn mower at a much higher price. You're just not going to get that quality of cut. However, you can get close. I've got an older blade here I wanted to show y'all, and this is one of the reasons why it's hard to compare to a zero turn. You can see there's just not much lift on these blades. Well, lack of lift, lack of picking that grass back up, you just don't get as good of a cut. Plus, I do believe the tip speed on a finish mower like this is nowhere near compared to the tip speed of a commercial zero turn. That makes a difference as well. And something else I wanted to point out that I wish I had learned in the past reading reviews, I just didn't see it anywhere, but the weight of a tractor. A lot of people don't take that into consideration. I'll try to show you in this field right here if you can see it on this little GoPro. But the weight of your tractor tires will push grass down, especially taller grass, the worse this is. And the lack of lift on that mower and those blades, that grass that you push down, I don't know if you can see these straps in this field, that's where my tractor tires went. So that heavy tractor pushes that grass down. The mower going over it quickly doesn't have time to lift it back up, doesn't have the lift of like a zero turn, so it doesn't cut it as clean, and eventually that grass stands back up from being run over by that heavy tractor, and you're kind of left with some rows out there. Now that's mainly due to the fact that I let this field grow up several weeks before I mow it. It's just a old field that I like to rough cut. This is more of what we call our yard right here. You can see I don't have that problem. You don't see tractor tires everywhere. That's because it's mowed a little more often. This grass doesn't grow quite as thick. So with that said, if you mow your yard or your grass more often, you're probably going to be pretty happy with the results of a finish mower like this. If you take a long time and let it get really high, you're going to be a little more disappointed. I don't know if you can see over here in the distance. Keep in mind these rear discharge mowers, while they're easy on your tractor and not throwing grass from blade to blade and loading up, they will leave these windrows. Again, you can eliminate that problem by mowing more often. We don't live here currently, so it's every 2 to 4 weeks that I'm mowing, which is a little more often than you would probably mow your yard. But for the most part, looking around, you don't really see bunches of grass and windrows left over. But I just wanted to point that out. The thicker you leave it, the better chance that you have of windrows being left behind, and it takes days and days and days in the sun before that grass dies and eventually that vanishes. So with all that said, I appreciate y'all watching. Again, I do have a Caroni TM1900 flail mower, so I'm going to do a comparison video between the finish mower and the flail mower here coming up. I'm going to let this field behind me grow up for a few weeks, get thick, so I can go do a good comparison of those two. And I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. If you're looking to purchase right now, drop me a comment below. I'll answer any question that you have. But if I had one choice of one mower, I'd probably go with just the flail mower. It cuts grass great, and as well as you can go into thick dog fennels, small brush, and do a little bit of clearing with that as well. So that really helps. Not something I'd do with a finish mower at all. That would be strictly grass only. Appreciate y'all watching. Hit like, share, hit the subscribe button below. I'm going to have some more tractor videos coming out. Probably going to do a review on my John Deere. Again, a comparison video on the Caroni flail and finish mower. I'll probably give a little bit of information in that video as well. I used to own a Frontier rotary cutter, so I can give some input on that. And I'll probably be purchasing a few more tractor attachments coming up in the future. Do some videos on those as well. But again, don't hesitate to comment. I will respond. Thank you.